Hello, I'm Sid Whedon, and this is the Psychic Weather Report for September the 6th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you blessing me with the gift of your time. I hope I can make it worthwhile for you. I'm really feeling the change of the seasons. I, like everybody else, I thought that summer would never be over and that, blistering heat was just going to go on and on and on. It seems like that it has finally kind of broken. We still have hot periods, but it's not like it was, and it's probably going to get cooler every single day, and then it's going to get really cold, and then I'll have something new to bitch about, so change of season, and my poor disposition. I'm cranky about that stuff. I hope you're doing all right. Please, if anything ever sets you off about or gets you thinking about something or makes a connection with something that you may be going through that I may mention in the podcast, and I would love for you to share that with me in the comments. I put these on both Substack and YouTube, and then echo them to a couple of other places, but that's my primary place for posting these is Substack and YouTube. So please, I really encourage you. I crave communication. So I'm gonna read some tarot cards. I'm not good at shuffling the cards and looking up and talking at the same time. I tend to shoot the cards all over the floor. I really don't want to do that. I've got them pretty much shuffled, so hopefully I don't have to do much of this. And I will be using again the Pulp Tarot. This has been a surprisingly good. I encourage you to invest, especially if you like the newer decks of cards that have, one deck, 1 foot in the traditional world and another foot in a kind of new experiential world. It does follow the weight system, but man, it's interpreted very differently. And it's not just a bunch of girls with legs, it's much more interesting, creative than that. So that's what we're using is the Pulp Tarot. I highly recommend it. If you like tarot, and you like the experimental versions of tarot, I highly recommend you at least explore it. All right, where are we? The Six of Cups. And I'm reading for the collective, and I'm using the Energy Star spread, which kind of gives where our energies are right now, where they may be going, what they suggest about us at this moment. And the central basic us card is the Six of Cups. You know, it has the two little children in it. And there's a house in the back instead of a benevolent person standing between them, which is kind of cool. Now the card which crosses us, which is providing us some resistance to our happiness, is what? The Knight of Cups. Maybe looking for love in all the wrong places. Maybe we've been kind of rushing into emotional relationships without really checking it out. We may be making assumptions about our emotional relationships without checking them out, and they may be erroneous, and they may be robbing us of our happiness because we're just being a typical knight and charging into things. And you know, once again with cups, that's the emotional intuitive suit, and that's crossing us. So maybe we're making some intuitive leaps that we shouldn't, especially if this relates to a lover and you're thinking something that you think that they're thinking. Check it out. Even if it's kind of scary, ask them. Don't wait till you get in a fight or an argument about it, but you know, ask them. You know, it's like, I had this impression. Is this right or wrong? Don't make any judgments about it. You know, don't justify yourself. Just go for information. So think about your relationships and don't go charging into stuff. Don't be operating too much on your intuition and emotion, because sometimes you know, I'm an intuitive. I know the problems with it is we can jump to conclusions. We trust our intuition, but you know, intuition's not flawless. It has its times. Okay. The basis. The Emperor. These are just, it's just art. The art on these cards is just great. I hope you can see that. You know, the Emperor, he's on his throne, he's in his you know, suit of armor, he's in his boots, this dude's ready to go to war. And he goes to war about something in particular, and that is maintaining the order, the boundaries, you know, that which brings stability to the kingdom. That's the best way to say it. That's a basis on which we're operating. I mean, and so when you see that, you got to ask, well, you know, am I over policing things? Should I relax a little and kind of just let it flow a little bit more? Do I have to always be, you know, boss daddy and kick everybody's butts if they get out of line? Can I ease up on that a little bit? Not a full reversal, but ease up. All right, the recent experiences past that are influencing us today, not just anything that happened randomly, but those things that influenced us. This one's sexy. Is the Eight of Pentacles. I don't know if you can see that, but the artist is painting a nude model, but he's got this beautiful girl on his studio couch, and instead, what's he doing? He's drawing pinnacles. There's a great deal of humor in that. The Eight of Pentacles is it's a hard work card. It's like you've really, had your nose to the grindstone. You've been getting the spiritual work and the emotional work cranked out. And this being Pentacles means it's had material, real world benefits to you that bring us to this point where we can have time to feel all these feelings and do art and do something creative. I will do my best to go slow on that, so I don't get too cranked. Now, the above card is the mental, spiritual influences, emotional too, that are operating on us today as a result of these other things we've talked about. The Four of Swords. We're tired. We need a break. I guess we just ran our little butts ragged back there on the Eight of Pentacles, and now what we really want is to enjoy what we've accomplished, to lay down and take a really nice nap. And since this is swords, this particularly relates to your mental activity. Like if you find you've been churning and ruminating, turn it off. Do your best, find out, do some yoga, do whatever the hell you have to do. But this says take a break today. You deserve it. And finally, where we're going. Ten of Wands, not my favorite card. It's a card, the 10 is of course the end of the cycle. It means you've carried your burden about as far as you can. In a way, this kind of ties in with, everything else, the Cups and the Swords, and particularly the Four of Swords, that you need to lay down these burdens. There are some things that have been bedeviling you, and it's just going to get worse. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find ways to unburden yourself, get a little R&R, maybe have some fun. Make a delicious meal with your lover or whatever, I mean, you don't have to, all work and no play makes Jack and Jill dull people, So, there we are. The picture that I get is kind of one of sort of an overachiever. that you're working your butt off. You have been working your butt off. Looks like you're going to keep working your butt off. You crave a break or some rest, but you have that deep need of the emperor to stay on top of things. And so with all of that, it's kind of hard to maintain your happiness, you know. And so I guess, a little emotional work there, if you've got somebody that you could, I find that just sometimes talking things through with somebody that I trust, that doesn't have to be some great knower of wisdom. I mean, just somebody who listened to me for a few minutes. Just being able to talk something out like that, it really helps me to sort this stuff out. And it looks like you're going to need to be doing some of that. You're going to need to be prioritizing. You're going to need to be laying some of these burdens down. You're going to need to start taking care of yourself better. You aren't right now. Okay? But that's what you're looking at. So, warned is forearmed, as they used to say back in the day. All right. I have a couple of things I'd like to give maybe a little bit more attention to. That have been on my mind. One is one that I call the long dark spell. And this kind of shaped up in my mind on that, that weird weekend when Donald Trump disappeared for a while. And we're all going, oh, I hope he's dead. I hope he's dead. Oh my God, maybe he's had a stroke. And wouldn't that be wonderful? Okay, what has happened there? That man's power, his evil, is so great that he's got you wishing death on another human being. That's a spell. He has reached out into the collective unconscious so deeply that he's causing all of us otherwise decent, caring people to have murderous intent. When we do that, we're going over to the dark side. We are practicing a black magic, however unconscious it might be. We're letting our souls and our minds go to a place that, looking at it from the outside, anyone would call evil. This man's power is so great. I think he's a child of the devil for sure. I mean, I don't think human beings have that kind of power alone. But his power is that great. It's a long, dark spell. And see, the thing is, once you go there, it's very hard to leave. Once you've committed yourself to that kind of evil, that kind of darkness, it's sticky, as they like to say these days. It's sticky. Can't get it off my hands. Can't get it out of my soul. It's sticky. And so, it's one thing to feel, well, he deserves it, I'm a victim, life was better before he was around. Oh, that all may be true. But that doesn't mean that you giving yourself over to that and joining in the long dark spell doesn't have serious magical, spiritual, and emotional consequences for you. What if you happen to be one of those people who has a really nice rifle and a good scope, and you give yourself into it so much that you decide to do something about it? The evil's won. Who gets destroyed there? You. Whose soul gets crushed? It's yours. This is the long dark spell. And I just want to alert you to that. I want you to try to find a way to, I don't know if atone is the right word, but a way to repudiate that space. To say, no, I'm not going to be a part of the long dark spell, even as awful as Donald Trump may be, even as richly as he deserves it and more. I'm not going to allow him to drag me into his pit of evil. That's my call. That's my choice. It's my life. It's not his. The long dark spell. I want to talk a little bit. This is one I've been really pouring over in my mind for, I don't know, a long time. 2-3 weeks at least. And that's the whole idea of spirit connection. Spirit connection. How do normal people connect with the spiritual dimension of life? How do we become aware of the spirits? How do we learn the geography of that world? Once again, now, you're not Merlin the magician. You can't see all this stuff just real easy. You're like me. There's some people who are just like born natural psychics, and I'll deal with that a little bit more. They can walk into a room and just, they can tell you who lived here 20 years ago. Not me. I got to work a lot harder, and even then I probably won't get results like that. But I have a great desire and a great hunger for that connection of my consciousness with those expanded dimensions that are kind of beyond. They interpenetrate, but they're also beyond the world of the five senses. They are very real. I've felt them since I was a little child. That's what got me going on about life. All my grandparents that I adored died really, really young in rapid succession when I was just a little child. And that kind of got me started, Like, Daddy, where did Granny go when she died? My folks didn't kid around with me. They told me what had happened. They took me to her funeral. So I was 9 years old, but I grasped it. But okay, what happens now? Yeah, that was probably the beginning of my journey right there. So I have kind of some extended notes here that I may be shuffling paper just a little bit. Um, I want to do two things. I want to talk to you about some things that are particularly important to me in making that connection. And then I want to move back a little and speak in a little bit more general terms because, my list is my list. Your list may be different, and the more general notes go further. So, spiritual connection. Well, honestly, I think probably the best established, most trusted methodology. Excuse me, I'm burping. The most time honored and trusted methodology, really all over the world, is yoga and meditation. And I would include the newer science of Reiki, which, like, the theory's been around for a while, but Reiki has more recently come into the popular consciousness, and I think it is basically it's an extension and enhancement of basic yoga. But if you and one thing about there's a lot of lovely paradoxes about yoga. One is that you can't push it. You gotta get to where you can relax with your yoga. We're so product oriented, so goal and task oriented, that we'll sit down to do yoga and say, God damn it, I've got to achieve enlightenment right now. I got to get it done like in 30 minutes. So I've got to pick up the kids. And you gotta learn to let that yoga happen, but keep it happening. That's where you come in, but just relax. If you don't feel like you're making any progress, that's okay. I'm sure the Buddha had times said he didn't feel like he was making a lot of progress. Who knew? But yeah. We all have those times, and so the best thing to do with yoga is to relax. Let it flow, let it come. And if you sit for 15-20 minutes and nothing really is getting going, well, go get an ice cream or something. Forget about it until next time. But yeah, yoga is so very important. I've done it since my teen years. I've never been able to do all the weird, freaky poses. I've never been able to do that. Sitting at lotus position with your legs all tied in knots. No, the homie's knees don't do that. But I've been doing it, just sitting in a chair and letting my mind empty out. Not to force it. If there's something there, okay, look at it, let it pass. Another one, I mentioned this before, like when I was talking about losing my grandparents, is what for lack of a better term, I call it natural spiritualism. There are some people who have particular gifts. One of mine is with the dead. I would learn about this later in life and end up putting those skills to work quite a bit. But that was one for me, I had a natural sense about the dead. So-called ghosts and spirits do not scare me. I love them. They're always welcome at my house. But there's some people that just have a natural spirituality about themselves. And they don't have to go to some school. They don't have to read a bunch of books. They don't need a guru. It just comes. And maybe they have a particular special thing with animals, or they may have a special thing with, departed spirits. They may have a real connection with other human beings. But it just kind of, the reason I call it natural is it just emerges. Sorry, I have dry skin, I itch like hell. And they just do, they're just plugged in. They're just connected from the get-go, and that's always been one that's important for me. Tarot cards. Bought my first set of tarot cards in 1971. That was my senior year of high school. Yeah, I'm just a babe in arms, I know. But I've had fun, so what the hell. But the tarot cards from that point on have been very important to me. I actually read better for other people than I read for myself, but I read for myself all the time. There's no shame in reading for yourself. The reading tarot cards is a great way to develop your own psychic gifts. It's a great way to get in touch with what you're feeling. And regardless of the metaphysical theories that you may have about it, we all have an unconscious. We all have a life that is to an extent hidden from us. And what the tarot cards are, you may call them instruments of the devil, but they are archetypes. Every single tarot card is an archetype. This is the boss, the ruler, the determiner of boundaries, the one who punishes wrongs, all that stuff. That's that archetype. You know that guy. He probably whipped you in grade school. or at least if you're as old as I am, you got whipped. Now I understand that's against the law, which probably is a good thing. Um, you know, this is the archetype, the Eight of Wands. He's very productive, but he's also kind of the workaholic. And you can go on and on. Each one of those cards is an archetype of something in our experience, and what you do is you pull that card, and suddenly it connects with something in your head. It's like, I tend to be kind of the emperor in my own space. I try to be a benevolent despot, but I'm nevertheless, quite the tyrant. I'm just sweet as a lamb as long as you agree with me. Woe be unto those who do not follow the directions of the Cid. There's a price to be paid. And so that's in my soul. That guy, he lives in me. That's why this card's important. Not so much that some spirit's going to appear in the hallway or something. It draws this up out of me. Okay, now why is that card today connecting with me so much better than, say, one of the others? Well, there's something going on with me, and see that the minute you start that process, pretty soon it begins to unfold for you. Of course, there's and then moving on. I could talk about tarot cards all day. Traditional religious spiritual disciplines. I have participated in those at various times in my life. And a sort of new one for me, I guess in my own head I classify it as a form of spiritualism, but that's ghost hunting. But that really is, you really are, you kind of pursuing the ethereal spiritual with the physical, which is interesting, and getting, trying to get some kind of evidence, whether it's a recording or a photograph or something to that effect that would indicate that there was a spiritual presence there. So I've been doing that. I got like, the spirit boxes, that do all the static and you hear words out of them, and I have some that like scan for ghosts, and the like the EMF detector. I have two EMF detectors actually, and I've been doing that. Well, to be honest with you, and honesty always comes first, I haven't had a fuck of a lot of luck with that stuff. But then, I can just see them and hear them in my mind. It's like, sometimes I think, what do you need the electronic equipment for when you can just kind of visually see them and, and experience them? Another thing that will create a spiritual connection, which is probably my least favorite of this whole list, it's the hard stuff. It's the extreme circumstances. It's being into some kind of crisis, and it becomes like an altered state of consciousness, and especially if you're needing the help and support, that will often open you up to reach out for that. And it's a good thing, but the price you paid to get there, it certainly works. I've had interesting things happen around the deaths of a lot of people. But once again, it's getting there is not much fun. Another one that I've done for quite some time is like Kabbalah magic. I am I'm a student of Kabbalah. Let me put it that way. I'm certified in Greek and Hebrew, and that all the ancient languages kind of resonate with me, if you don't mind that word. And so the Kabbalah magic, and especially once I began to put it together intellectually, that there's a real deep down connection between the tarot cards and the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah's got the same 4-ply 1 through 10, or ace through 10 structure of the cards. And the more you see of that, and the more you draw those connections together, like the richer that each of the others become. It's like the Kabbalah is kind of abstract and ethereal, whereas the tarot cards tend to bring it down to the real world, Malkuth, if you will. And so the Kabbalah magic has been helpful to me. Just very, very quickly, I want to run over a somewhat larger general list of, just hopefully that this is helpful to you if you're in the shape of trying to figure things out. Quick list: core spiritual disciplines, which are common across most, if not all, traditions. Number 1, meditation, prayer, fasting, study of sacred texts, contemplation, which is different from meditation, silence and solitude, worship. Worship's important. We don't do enough worship. It's powerful. Whether you're a Christian or a witch, it doesn't matter. But that the worship, the ritual acts, the taking time to focus yourself that way is very powerful. Service, helping other people, other living creatures. Maybe it's dogs and cats, but that's service. Confession, acknowledging that you're incomplete, acknowledging that you may have made mistakes, acknowledging that you want to do better. And then of the last of the core spiritual disciplines is the Sabbath, rest. You cannot have a fulfilling spiritual and intellectual life if you're dead tired all the time. That phrase, your nervous system, it really does eat away at your health if you do it long enough. And that Sabbath, the resting is a holy act. All right. Then there's a category called embodied and ritual practices. This is the stuff that you actually do. You really are, you're moving, you're making noise, you're doing something that's expressing your inner devotion. Yoga, chanting and mantra repetition. Pilgrimage, traveling somewhere, especially in some special kind of way that you don't usually travel. Sacred dance or movement. Never been a strong suit of mine, but I know that there are some people that literally reach ecstatic states with dancing. A very, very important one. One without which none of the rest of this stuff works very well is breath work. It's pranayama in the Buddhist yoga tradition. I mean, really, if you want to get the power of the universe into your nervous system, learn how to do breath work. Rituals and ceremonies, symbolic acts making spiritual transitions. You know, probably between now and tomorrow night, we will do some kind of little ritual. Nothing, I don't like them real complicated and showy, but we'll do some kind of little ritual acknowledging the full moon and the eclipse and, channeling all the energy and all that. Then there is inner work and mind training. This would include things like journaling, gratitude practice. Oh my God, you want to change your perspective? Start practicing some gratitude. When you're feeling really sorry for yourself, stop and think about how life has blessed you, all the great things that have happened, the wonderful people that have come into your life, even if they may be gone now. Gratitude practice. Forgiveness and reconciliation. You got a beef with somebody. You really have two choices. Well, three. You can forget about it and look like a chump, like a wimp. You can carry it and be angry about it until the day you die. I mean, seriously. My people were very much that way. Or you can practice forgiveness and reconciliation. This is really to say, hey, look, I know we've got a beef, and I don't like it like that, and I regret what I have done to get us here, and I hope you will accept my apology. And be willing to do. Sometimes it's easier to ask for it than to give it. Sometimes it's easier to be real apologetic to somebody than to actually give it to them, to forgive them, to be willing to really lay something down and walk away, forget about it. But you got to have the reconciliation. You'll never have forgiveness without reconciliation. Mindfulness, which has been trendy lately, and there's been a lot of charlatans online. They're now specialists on mindfulness, whatever the fuck that is. I don't see how that's different from journaling or meditation or whatever, but it made the list. Dream interpretation, very important. If you're the kind of person who is not scared of his dreams, her dreams, and interested in working at that level of your psychology, dream work can be very, very powerful. Sometimes almost too powerful. Active imagination. It's kind of what we do with the cards is we, get an image and we kind of let that image dwell and percolate in our minds. And what would I be saying to this guy? I would probably be saying, first of all, sir, I'd appreciate if you didn't hit me with that armored glove of yours. I'm really your friend. I'm not here to disturb your kingdom. I'll be moving on just as soon as I can. you know. Okay, see, I've already got this little drama going. The symbol engaged my imagination and gave me a little realization that was maybe not earth-shattering, but I enjoyed it. Active imagination. There are some, mystical secret societies and such. And, I don't know. I tend to be a suspicious kind, and I tend to I think all those people are charlatans. They're just frauds. They're trying to either get in your pants or get in your billfold, one of the two. And so I don't like that stuff. So I'm a lone wolf too. I go my own way. I do my own homework. I do learn from it. I have several advanced degrees. I do learn from other people. I've always enjoyed learning. It's a great thing. But I've never been one to want to join some organization. They say, well, you got to wear yellow underwear on Tuesday. Something like this stupid ritual shit, it just, and I don't want to be a part of that. Okay, that's about enough. I'll probably talk more on some spiritual connection. If there's anything I can do, to like give you further references and stuff, please ask. Leave me a note in the comments on either Substack or YouTube, and I check them every day. So yeah, I'll answer you. I'll help if I can. Lance, the psychic weather report. Well, tonight, this one's really easy. Because the psychic weather tonight is that tomorrow we have a full eclipse of the moon on a full blood moon. Sorry, there's somebody walking around out there. Full blood moon. That's what it's called. And we're going to have not only the full moon, but a full eclipse. And so, as you know, eclipses put all kind of wild energy on things. It's like often under a full moon or new moon. I've done it with the new moon too, but I'll put some crystals out to charge, depending on the crystal and what I'm seeing that particular day. But I don't put them out under eclipses. Eclipses are just a little too strange. With the eclipse, it's better to just kind of fasten your seatbelt and get ready for some odd stuff. And so that's really the psychic weather. You may already be feeling it because, the energy of an eclipse or a full or new moon actually extends really a couple of days to either side of the event. So, like with a full moon, you may start feeling the full moon 2 days before the actual calendar date of the full moon. And it's the same way with the eclipses. You start feeling that energy really before it gets here, but it will be here tomorrow. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to get this podcast out. So that's really, there's other things I could talk about the psychic weather. I mean, people still being pretty awful to each other and all that jazz, but for right now, the psychic weather is that eclipse on a full moon. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. All right, thank you. Thanks for sharing your time with me. It is a gift that I deeply appreciate. I know we're all busy people. We got 1,000 screens to look into, and you chose to look into mine, and I appreciate it. This is Sid Whedon with the Psychic Weather Report for September the 6th, 2025. I'll see you later.